Hang on. Yes. Right. They're on. Yeah.
Testing. Yeah.
I'm the only one that gets to talk tonight.
Test, test.
There you go. Yeah.
Test. Okay. My pleasure to call the May 9th Dayton Town Council meeting to order at 6:03. Tonight's meeting will also be live streamed via Zoom. There will be no public comment available via Zoom. We do have one, or actually, we have nobody signed up to speak this evening, correct? So could we have a roll call, please, Ms. Hall?
Yes, Ms. Mathias.
Present.
Ms. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
Ms. Estes. Mr. Wall.
Here.
Mr. Dijak.
Present.
Mayor Jackson.
Present. Join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet this evening and conduct the town's business. We ask that you watch over and comfort those that are living through the despair in Ukraine. We ask that you watch over our law enforcement and first responders who protect us across this great country. We pray in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple of students. Welcome this evening. So we have a couple proclamations. May is a busy time for different events. So we're going to start off recognizing the small businesses. So we have a proclamation declaring May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Small Business Week. Whereas America's strongest economic growth in almost 40 years has been driven by the resilience of our small businesses, who despite a worldwide pandemic, continue to pioneer innovative solutions to our country's greatest challenges and create opportunities for families and workers. And whereas from the storefront shops that anchor Main Street to the high-end startups that keep America on the cutting edge to the small manufacturers driving our competitiveness on the global stage, small businesses are the backbone of our economy and the cornerstone of our nation's promise. And whereas when we support small businesses, jobs are created and our community preserves its unique culture. And whereas because this country's 32.5 million small businesses created nearly 2 out of every 3 jobs in our economy, we cannot resolve ourselves to create jobs and spur economic growth in America without discussing ways to support our entrepreneurs. And whereas the President of the United States has proclaimed National Small Business Week every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs to the U.S. Small Business Administration and other government agencies. And whereas the Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia declared May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Small Business Week. And whereas the town of Dayton joins in the state and national effort to help its over 75 small businesses do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, create a sense of community, and while providing shopping and dining opportunities to the residents and visitors and ensuring that our small town, hometown, downtown thrives well into the future. And now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Kerry Jackson, Mayor of the town of Dayton, Virginia, and on behalf of the Dayton Town Council and the citizens of Dayton, recognize May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Small Business Week in the town of Dayton. And I call this observation to the attention of our citizens this second day of May 2022. Now I need to have a drink. It's also declaring May as Bike Month. Whereas bicycling commuting is an effective means to improve air quality, reduce traffic congestion, conserve energy, and preserve a way of life. And whereas bicycling commuting benefits both employees and employers through better health and fitness and reduced commuting and parking costs. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists has declared the month of May 2022 to be National Bike Month to promote public awareness of bicycle safety and education among cyclists and motorists. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists has declared Bike to Work Week will take place May 16th through the 22nd, 2022. And Bike to Work Day will be May 20th, 2022. And whereas numerous visiting cyclists travel to the Shenandoah Valley in the town of Dayton to ride the beautiful scenic roads, to participate in bicycling related races, and to purchase bicycling accessories, contributing substantially to the local economy, restaurants, and other local businesses. And whereas the town of Dayton is committed to bicycling and non-motorized transportation as demonstrated by investments in trails and sidewalks. And whereas the town of Dayton join in this national effort to focus on individual and community well-being and makes to take part in the national movement towards creating safer streets, connected communities, a healthier planet, and happier people. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Kerry Jackson, Mayor of the town of Dayton, Virginia, and on behalf of the Dayton Town Council and the citizens of Dayton, recognize May 2022 as Bike Month in the town of Dayton, and I urge all cyclists and motorists to share the road and maintain safe transportation corridors in our community. This is the second day of May 2022. Now, are you going to cycle to Massanutten on that day for work? Uphill both ways.
I will make the commitment to ride my bike that way.
There you go.
All 2 blocks.
Oh.
All blocks.
All right, so we have a public hearing this evening regarding the proposal of a real property tax increase. I call the public hearing to order at 6:09. And Ms. Lawrence, can we have a staff report on this?
Sure, the staff report's on page 3 of your packet. Is this on? Not very loud. No, that's okay. She just needs to, people said I was mumbling or that they couldn't hear me very well. All right. Well, for anybody at home who I just stepped in by smacking at my as you know, Rockingham County reassessed properties. They do it every 4 years, and this was the year that they did it. Property values increased substantially. The town utilizes the county's values for real property tax purposes. The state code requires that even if the tax rate remains the same, which is what we're proposing, that if the tax revenue increases by more than 1%, we advertise and do a public hearing. The budget that you're going to see later tonight assumes the tax rate remains the same, which is 8 cents per 100 of dollars of assessed value. We did that. The ad that is on page 4 was posted in 2 places at Town Hall. It was on the website. We sent out an alert for people who have website alerts. And it was on social media. So there you have it. I think all the other towns are keeping their rates the same, and ours is lower relative to most other than Bridgewater.
Thank you. We'll now close the public hearing at 6:11. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the joint public hearing in regular town council meeting of April 11th, 2022, and the council budget work session of April 18th, 2022.
So moved.
Are there any amendments to the minutes? Roll call, please, Ms. Hall.
I need a second.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Seward.
Thank you. All right, and Ms. Hoover,
Aye.
Mr. Seward,
Aye.
Ms. Mathias,
Aye.
Ms. Estes, Mr. Walls, Mr. Dijak,
Aye.
Mayor Jackson.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. And now we have a couple presentations this evening. We'll start with Ms. Lawrence to begin with the budget for fiscal 2022-23.
Thank you. So the proposed draft budget is included, or you have all received it, and the summary is included in the council packet for tonight. I'll just review it for a few things. Actually, the ad that is in the council packet is a little bit off. The bottom line remains the same. The budget after transfers is $6,013,200. But again, because we transfer money from water and sewer to the general fund and the capital fund, the budget looks higher than it is. It's actually not nearly that high. $1,078,050 is being transferred out of water sewer into the revenue for the general fund, and $162,208 is being transferred into the capital fund. So those $1,200,000 are double counted in the budget. And this is for, and that's what the asterisk is below. It's for budgeting purposes only. So our budget is really less than $5 million. But we have to do it that way because each fund is budgeted for separately, the general fund, the capital funds, and I have a capital fund for general, a capital fund for water sewer, and a water sewer fund itself that have to be kept separate. So, but the bottom line after the transfers is $6,013,200. We did have a budget work session a couple of weeks ago and walked through most of the budget items. And I'm happy to entertain questions. You can see in the budget packet that I've also included the fiscal year-end cash and the cash equivalent and investments 5-year trend. As you know, at the end of every public budget cycle, when we finish the year, our money has to start all over for the next year. So if we run a surplus, which we've had the past couple of years, that goes into investments, and it just keeps building, but we don't get to roll it over unless you specifically say. So we started a practice a couple of years ago after talking to the auditor of rolling over the capital funds, because those projects rarely start and finish in one fiscal year. So at any rate, everything else starts fresh. And we have been accumulating funds. Now, next year, when I give you this, it's going to go way down because we're paying $3.5 million out of ARPA funds, and which is included in cash and cash equivalents and our investment. So that balance will go down next year as we're spending the money that we have saved on the water plant. At any rate, we do have some surplus money from last year and this year that ended up rolling over, that wasn't expended. So I'm asking that as part of this, we include, again, revenue that is actually already been counted as revenue, but for budget purposes, we've included a transfer from reserves of $42,792, which is far less than what we had left over last year. That's how we have to technically do it. This project has just a few capital projects, and we'll go over that with the CIP in just a minute. Are there any questions on the budget itself?
I had one. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to know which fund you were gonna fund your little wayfinding signs from, because the one time we were told it's already budgeted, then we got another email that we're gonna use the government money. And then I saw we got an email the other day for the $50,000 tourism grant, and then that was brought up, that was gonna be part of it. So I just didn't know what was paying for that, because I've had like 3 different
So,
things. I just want to make sure it's myself.
so it's all the
Well, that's
same.
not
When we go to, if you look at the capital projects booklet, and you go down to line 30.
Yeah.
So we did budget 100,000 last year, and that was out of the ARPA money, the government money, was what we were gonna use that for. So far, we've paid just over, or just about 20,000 to the consultant fee, and the rest is sign implementation. As we mentioned at the budget work session, the signs are likely gonna be more expensive than we had anticipated. There'd be 19 directional signs. So the county does have a tourism grant out right now where every town will receive $50,000 towards tourism. So we have included that in the FY 23, which is this coming fiscal year, in column E. So that's where those two are, but that money in column D is what we budgeted last year. We'll ask you to carry that over, like I just said, with the capital projects. If it's not spent,
19 of them?
pardon me,
You're getting 19 of them? You said?
that's how many directional signs we need. So it's on,
We talked about 4 when we had the meeting with
no, that's never
Never.
been the case.
with Dale.
That's never been the case for that. There's,
Okay, please. I'm
so-
just asking because I just keep getting emails that saying this is paying for it, and then I get another email later that says, well, this is gonna pay for it, so I just was asking because it's like the third source of payment since May.
no, the budget has always been part of that ARPA fund. So we did budget it last year, but it was balanced against the ARPA revenue that we brought in last year. Most of the ARPA money went to the water treatment plant, but 100,000 of it we reserved for this. So no town money sitting around is going into that wayfinding sign. It's all been either ARPA or the county grant program. The 2 signs that are not part of the 19 are the welcome signs that we have talked about, but no, it's always been the welcome signs. Then we'll maybe have 4 signs total on Route 42 or Huffman coming into town, but then every time you take a turn, we have to have more signs to get people where they want to go. So that's why there's more signs than we anticipated, or than it seems like you would need because of all the twists and turns in town to get people where they're going. All right. So for instance, if you're coming from south, there'll be a sign to tell you to turn onto Mason Street to get downtown. And then when you get onto Mason Street, there'll be another sign on Main Street to tell you to turn here. And then there'll be another sign on College to tell you how to get to the Welcome Center. Same if you come in off of not Huffman, but well, there will probably be a sign going forward on Huffman. But if you come from the north on Everly, it'd be the same thing. There'll actually be 2 signs there because there's more resources down there. Once you get on Everly, then there'd be a sign to tell you to go straight and one to tell you to turn to go to downtown, and then one to get you to the museum and all that. So it turns out more than I think some people anticipate. It is the same grant that was applied for before I was even here. And it took a couple years for USD to approve it. But it is what the committee at the time pushed for. Any other questions on the budget? Let me go then to the CIP and pull them together. So the capital improvements program, the CIP, as you know, is a 5-year document where we try to project out what capital improvements we're gonna need to make. Last year was the first year that we did this comprehensive approach. Everything that you see in column D, which is balance FY 22, is what we have left over right now. Some of it might be reduced if we spend some more money, say, on the water treatment plant, but that's the balance that we have right now. So for instance, on line 23, we had budgeted $50,000 this year for park acquisition, and then we did 25 for park acquisition and 25 for amenities. We decided to combine those two and just keep a general parks fund. So that's a balance. We haven't spent it. We weren't planning on spending it, but this document shows us that that's how much money we should have in reserve. And when you see the audit next year, it'll have restricted funds listed like it did for ARPA this year. Because we don't have the kind of capital funds this year, we put 25,000 into that. Let me walk you through the column E FY 23 capital projects first. Obviously, we're going to finish the water treatment plan, but we don't need to put, as far as we know, any more money into that. We've already budgeted all the money we're going to need, and I'm going to ask you to carry that over. Same with water sewer line replacements. Everything that has a balance, I'm going to ask you next month to carry all of that over. So the new projects next year are a generator for well number 2. Which would be 50,000. The following year, we know we need a generator at the water tower, the golf ball, but that's more expensive because it needs a lot of upgraded electric and some transfer switches and all of that, and it's going to be a bigger generator. In fact, we need an engineer to come in and tell us the generator company wasn't real comfortable without knowing what kind of pumps we had. So our engineer said when he's in town this week, he'll go by and look at it and give us a recommendation for that. Equipment replacement is 45,000. That's the trucks, and those have been ordered, and that will be in and paid for before this year, so there won't be any carryover for that. That's the one truck that they needed, the service truck. The same with the mower. They had requested a mower for next year, and we had it in the capital fund, but there's money left this year, or there might be if you guys approve my item for consideration during my report. So we took that out. The Greenway rail will be finished. I don't know if the electric will be finished this year. If not, we'll carry that over. We've taken the King Street Extension Trail and we've combined that with, we didn't do it on this chart. We're combining all of those funds into one Greenway fund. So I apologize. The Dayton Market to downtown doesn't have any money because that would still be a feasibility study. The Sunset Street sidewalk, the King Street extension, it's all going to go into one line item, which is why we crossed that off. So I apologize. We'll add that into, I think I corrected it on these sheets. So if you look at the sheets for bike ped, there's bike ped 1 and bike ped 2, and we've kind of combined everything into that. Parks, like I said, we've already combined the acquisition and amenities so that we have that all together. And Bradford, I did not combine the greenways and trails into parks because I thought if we went for VDOT funding, they would want to see it as a bike ped facility, not a park or a rec. But I can talk to you further on that. So Public Works, they have ordered their truck, which was budgeted this year for 45. And then we can talk about this. The diesel is still in the shop. It's been there for a while. They really would like to buy a new truck next year as well to replace the diesel. Then we could sell three used vehicles and have 3 new ones and then start rotating every 5 years. We did not budget for that, but if you guys want to include that, we can just raise the transfer from reserves another 45 or 50,000. The equipment replacement, if you approve what I asked you for tonight, we will have bought their mower as well this year. I'm sorry, the equipment replacement is a small dump in the bio truck, which I know we can't do next year.
And here, let me just explain. Each year, we've been putting money at the end of the year into investments, and then we turn around and take money back out. So what we talked about in the finance committee is instead of putting that money in and then turning around and taking it back out, just use that money to be able to get some projects done. It just doesn't make any sense to put it in the turnaround, and take right back out. So if we have that money left over this year, we'll go ahead and take care of funding projects that were in the budget and just get those taken care of this year. So that's where all of this discussion came through in the finance committee. It was just like, does it make sense to keep transferring in and then transferring out? Can we just take care of things as we're doing it?
Right, yeah, exactly. It makes sense if we're doing long-term to put things away for the bigger projects, but for these smaller things, exactly what Carrie mentioned, so.
Have
And
we
and
been
we're not
incurring,
physically moving money from one account to another,
Right.
we're moving it on paper.
have we been incurring fees for those transfers?
No, because we don't actually physically.
We
It's
don't
just paper.
actually-
Yeah, it's just paper.
Okay.
Most of our money is in investments. They're in a strange CD that doesn't work the same way your CDs do.
Mhm.
So believe me. We keep about 500,000 in checking. So anytime we have more than that, we try to, about once a year, we move money over. We're not this year because we have enough to keep paying the water plant for a little while. So we've never made a transfer yet for investments. We put the ARPA money straight in checking. We've gotten half the ARPA money. We put that into checking. And pretty soon when we get into the water treatment, we'll have to start moving money over. So no, there's no expense, and it's really not a real transfer. It's a paper transfer. And then the downtown revitalization, next year, we don't need anything. We have applied for a planning grant that would be 50,000 from DHCD. Which we may, if we get that, we may have to come back and adjust the budget because we would be expending money and then getting reimbursed for it. But what we did was a couple years out, we started putting money away. If we, depending on what the planning grant says, we'll start accumulating money to implement the plan. And we would apply for another DHCD grant for the implementation as well. As you go down to police and public safety, of course, we had said we want to rotate vehicles every year. They have 6 vehicles. If we rotate them every year, 1 each year, that will work. They still don't, the car camera in the police vehicles still isn't needed next year, but possibly the next year. Then the town hall key card, I got a little ambitious and crossed it out. I think it's going to be done this year, at which point we won't have a balance in that account as either. But some of those I'm still waiting till next month to know for sure what we have. What we need at this time is for you to let us know if we can advertise the budget as it is now, which is what's on page, what's like the third piece of paper you have in your packet that says proposed budget. That's what we would advertise. We'll fix a couple typos that say FY21 and it should say FY23. But what we need tonight is a motion to approve, to authorize me to go ahead and advertise this for public hearing on June 3rd and voting on June 13th. June 6th and June 13th.
Before we get to that, is there any other questions on budget or CIP?
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. That was just my presentation. Excuse me.
got you. Good, okay.
Okay.
So now I need a motion to approve the minutes for, I'm sorry, we already did that. I need a motion to authorize staff to advertise the public hearing to be held on Monday, June 6th, 2022 at 6:00 PM.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Susan.
Could just take a minute to thank the finance committee. I thank everybody for your attention to these. I know you've given a lot of thought to it, but the finance committee met and we didn't have everything settled. So then they met again right after the groundbreaking and have poured over these. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Hall.
All right, Mr. Walls. Ms. Estes. Ms. Hoover,
Aye.
Ms. Matthias,
Aye.
Mr. Seward,
Aye.
Mr. Dijak,
Aye.
Mayor Jackson.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. And we have nobody signed up for public comments tonight, so we'll go right into staff reports and we'll go right back to Ms. Lawrence.
All right. My staff report starts on page 14. Are there any questions on anything that I have. I can walk you through some of the capital project status if you'd like on page 15, and then I'll go back to my items for discussion. The police vehicle, we are still waiting on the lights and the box that the firearms go into in the trunk. It's all the supply chain issues. We are hoping that we can get the grant closed out because we received the vehicle a while ago. We cannot close the grant out until we get everything installed. And it'd be a real hassle if we expend money one year and don't get the grant till the next. But anyway, that's where we are on that, just waiting, and Justin harasses them in an appropriate amount of times on that. The Greenway project is supposed to be done any day now. They've already marked where they're gonna put the new post for the metal rail, so I feel confident that will be done soon. King Street Extension, we're gonna meet with the surveyor later this week. Wayfinding program, we have a meeting. So I think we explained there's 3 different processes with VDOT. They've got our first application for permits. They're gonna meet with us, shouldn't have any problem with the second, so that we can start putting these things out to bid, but that will be carried over. Sidewalk, unfortunately, you know, the sidewalk's been on here. The first section of College was supposed to get done during the Mill Street project, and the contractor couldn't get to it. They were going to do it over the winter. They didn't do it. So we reached out to a different contractor who can get it done for us in August. So, and that will be both sections of College next fiscal year. So we'll have to carry that over. We are on the schedule. It turns out you even have to order concrete like a month ahead of time now at this supply chain issue. So, and the price may go up by that time, but we're
Price will go
scheduled
up.
for August 1st right now. And Adam has harassed them plenty of times as well. Parks, of course, we're not doing anything with. So the Public Works vehicle, we did order, that was budgeted. It was not contingent on a grant. We have not received the grant, so we're gonna revise the grant and go to the next vehicle because there were 2 trucks on the lot that had everything we needed, the utility body and everything that we needed, available in white. They're down in Virginia Beach. They're going to deliver them to us, but we just wanted to go ahead and get that done. We use the Virginia Beach City Cooperative Agreement because the state contract, same truck, can't get it on state contract until December. So we went ahead and used that cooperative agreement, much cheaper than the trucks that were locally here, though, if we just bought them outright. We did purchase the one Ventrac mower earlier in the year, but I'm going to ask you in just a minute to let us purchase 2 more, and I'll go over that. Key card system, we're hoping will be done by June 30th. That's just for this building, since we didn't get the grant. It won't include Public Works buildings. Water line extension. I heard several weeks ago that everybody was on board, and then I talked to the city manager who said he just has to talk to the city attorney about it. So to draft an agreement, which then we'll review. We're going to go ahead and get started on doing the easement and surveys done for that, and hoping that the 2 property owners will now let us do that without going to too much trouble. But the city does think they'll have an agreement just where we pay for any water that we use and not pay a monthly retainer fee kind of thing like we do at the lake. Water plant equipment, you know, all too well. Parkland acquisition, same thing. The hydrant, the city can tap it mid-May. They told us last week it'd be 2 weeks. They finally got the tapping materials in, again, supply chain issues. The problem is the farmer may or may not be planting his corn then, and we told him if he plants his corn, we'll come back in the fall when he harvests his corn. So we're hoping, I talked to him last week. He said, I don't know, it just depends on the weather. Have Adam call me when they're ready. We'll get it tapped at least, but the generator has been installed on well 4. We're gonna have to get some fencing to go around it. It's more than 7 feet high, and it's a big generator. And then the service truck for the water department has also been purchased. So are there any questions on my report or that before I go to my items for consideration? I guess I will highlight maybe for the mayor, will probably want me to highlight this. We have met with VDOT and talked to them a couple of times. I've talked to Cargill a couple of times. They will be soon improving the crosswalks. They improved the crosswalks downtown when they paved. We'll be improving the crosswalks across from the middle school. First with pavement markings with what they call the piano key. Right now, there's just two thin lines at Cargill and the middle school. It'd be the piano key, the thicker lines, more visible. Cargill, hopefully, we're gonna get them to put 25 miles an hour, huge on the pavement. And then the future plan, and we'll look at who will fund what, is to put motion activated pedestrian lights that blink when people walk out onto the street. Anyway. So the items for discussion, I've already explained every year. Things go back to reserves, and that we've had surplus. So next month, I'm going to bring to you a final budget adjustment. It won't change the bottom line of our budget, so we don't have to advertise and do an amendment. But we would like to move some funds from, or some money from one fund to another to help expend this money that that we need to use. It's just that it's in the wrong department right now. So I will be asking you to do that next month, but I'd like to get kind of a nod that, yeah, you're gonna, if I bring that back, we can spend that money down this year, even if it's not where it was originally budgeted for.
I will just say we did have a brief discussion on that in finance committee and we're so inclined to agree.
So what I would like tonight, I'm requesting a motion to allow us to spend the contingency funds from water sewer that are left over, which is $5,000. After we buy the street sweeper, which also hasn't come in yet, and $25,000 from the public works contingency fund, which was budgeted, and we haven't used any of that yet, for the purchase of 2 mowers. One would be a 0-turn mower, which would be on this cooperative agreement, we have less than $13,000. I didn't get the written quote today, but the state contract or the price is just over 13, and we know we save about 12% on this cooperative thing. And then one Steiner, which is similar to Ventrec, but is available. Steiner Ventrec's not available till the end of the year as well. So we'd like to do that. That one's about 35,000. So we'll need a little bit more money as well, but we can find that in the rest of the budget and our equipment and things. So I'd like a motion that we can use the contingency fund from leftover from both to go ahead and purchase mowers now for this fiscal year.
From the water department, and what was the other funding source?
One's from the water and sewer, that's 5,000 left over in their contingency fund, and the other is 25,000 in the public works contingency fund, which hasn't been touched.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. You have that, Krista, the 25,000 for public works and 5,000.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? You're quite a mouthful. Thank you. Ms. Smith for Treasurer's Report.
Mayor and Council, you have the treasurer's report there and the budget versus actual financials. I don't have anything else to add to the report. If you have any questions, happy to give you some answers. Hopefully. Glad budget season's getting closer.
As Ms. Lawrence has said, I mean, it's been just an inordinate amount of work that falls, predominantly on Susan's and Angela's shoulders to take care of this budget and, answering all of our questions and clarifications and everything else. So thanks again for all your extra work and blood, sweat, and tears. Chief Trout.
Mr. Mayor, Council, you all have my report in front of you. I have nothing to add. I'll answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Lawrence for Public Works.
I'll just highlight for the police department that there is a chief's town hall meeting on May 17th. I know some of the council members would like to see some town hall meetings. This is the first one, and it's a police chief. Y'all are welcome to attend, but if more than 2 people show up. then
May
I have-
17th.
So May 17th. May 17th at 6 o'clock. We told you to write regular times in your report.
1,800 hours.
It is impossible for him to write regular numbers. Anyway. 6 o'clock PM.
postcards on military calendar.
We'll send out a postcard
Soon.
this week. Go out to the vote to remind.
I see your officers. on that week.
The 19th.
It's great.
At 1 o'clock, so, yeah.
All right, Public Works report. We did hire Chandler Foltz. We're not gonna have a second part-time seasonal person. We've hired Chandler. He's on full-time, doing really well so far. And then Troy came back from last summer and he's working basically full-time in the summertime. So we don't need that second person. Oh. Adam wanted everybody to know that Public Works be the police department and the tug of war at the staff meeting. No, that was the one that we talked about. last month. He just felt like it needed to be in writing. Are there any questions about Public Works? He is, he's pretending he's not. If not, I'll go on to Water Department, which is on page 20. We did actually have to, as you can see, get some water off of Silver Lake, which we haven't done since the wells were both in 2019, so. Yeah, well, one lost communication surprisingly, and we're working that out with the SCADA system. Any questions on that?
And Miss Rep had to come in on Saturday because the lost communication with the storm. So she'll be very happy when this new water treatment plant is.
Well, that was actually, the power went out, and then that threw off the compressor again, yes. She enjoys driving from where she lives over here.
Nothing better.
Well, her dad's in town from New Jersey.
Miss Hall for community development.
All right, my report's on page 21. Only thing I will highlight there is DMV Connect is in the building today and tomorrow. They did not have enough appointments to go into Wednesday, so they've consolidated it into 2 days. They are taking walk-ins, so if anyone approaches anybody and wants to come in and see somebody, they can show up tomorrow and they will be happy to take care of them. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. And Miss Lawrence for economic development.
Maggie's report starts on page 22, and you've heard me talk enough tonight, so do you have any questions on that report?
Well, I'm hitting a lot of the highlights off of hers too in my comments.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Bowman.
I have nothing to report. It was a quiet month.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you, sir. All right, then we'll have a committee report starting with Mr. Dijak for economic and community development.
Yes, sir. Very good. Yeah, I would just want to, I might steal some of your thunder too, but just again, thanks everyone for Redbud. What an amazing time that was. And just, give a lot of credit to staff for just pulling together. And despite their differences on the tug of war, they all kind of banded together there to make Redbud happen. So he's still not picking up. Okay, that's okay. Fair enough. But no, I mean, anyway, it was great. I know staff's already had the debrief, and I know Susan and I'll be coordinating to schedule a committee meeting soon to go over that as well and cover a couple other items. But just wanted to thank everyone again. Again, it's one of those things that just really makes the town just what it is. It's a special small town, hometown. So thank you for all that. And that was great. And crowd, I thought, was excited, and vendors seemed like they really enjoyed it, or at least had a good day, or at least had fun doing it if they did. So and then also just to the end, we've had Small Business Appreciation Week, and I know it's also was it National Business Month as well. I did want to highlight, we do, as you saw in Maggie's report, Frontier Meats is now at the Dayton Market, so it took over. So uninterrupted service. That's great. Went from one meat seafood place to the other, and actually had the chance to talk with the owners on Saturday. Just so they are excited to be here, and we'll welcome them aboard. So that is quite exciting. But I think that's all I've got for right now in economic development.
Well, you did such a good job. We'll just move on to
Right,
finance.
there you go. I think everyone's kind of already said all we need to say about finance. So just again, thank you to Susan and Angela and just for getting everything together. And I think we're in good shape. And I always say that I think we've done a good job of taking all of our comments together and got a good CIP ahead of us too. So looking forward to putting that to rest next month.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Seward for infrastructure.
Nothing to report. However, I would like to thank the contractors, the engineers, everybody that got together at the water plant for the official groundbreaking. It's nice to see and off the books, right, Bradford?
That's absolutely.
And Mr. Seward, you go on Parks, Recreation, Beautification.
And I will say nothing to report.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Matthias for personnel. Beautiful. And Ms. Hoover for police.
Nothing to report, but I'm looking forward to the first town hall in a while, again, May 17th at 6 p.m.
I'm getting across all kinds of stuff off my list here. We did the Easter egg hunt drive-through, or not hunt, but Easter egg drive-through again this year. So we had gave out over 50 bags of kids coming through the drive-through. So that was neat. And then the Easter hunt that we did, it was by far the largest Easter egg hunt Dayton has ever done. There were people coming from everywhere. How many eggs was it?
We purchased 1,500 eggs, but then we had, 1,500
So-
we put out, I think.
And they were gone in minutes. I mean, there were that many kids and we had different areas set up. So we probably have to look at more eggs and maybe some different categories as well next year, because those older kids just wiped us younger ones out. As we said about Rudd, the only thing I'll add to that, we did have 106 vendors. We had a couple that backed out the last day due to some family issues, but 106 vendors, that was nice. It was a beautiful day for it too. And again, thanks for everybody that came out. Dayton Days, we're nearing capacity. We've already got 196 vendors for that, which is great. And I'm not even gonna say anything else about budgets because we've talked about it plenty. But I do want to talk about the facade grants. Rocktown History recently completed their installation of the new signs. So drive down through there, it looks great. They received $1,286.74 from the Economic Development Authority. So that was nice to see. The other one, drive past Mole Hill Bikes, because just to the left of their entry there, they put in some new hardscape out there, and they also awarded $2,500 from the EDA to do that. It's hopefully that we see some business owners who see what kind of projects are getting funded and they'll look at doing that. We also have Cheryl at the Mill is getting ready to do some work down there with a new door going into that area. So it's exciting to see these grants come in. Our next deadline is June 30th for our next round of grants, but it is nice to see some of these projects actually being completed and having a positive impact. Do we have any other council comments? We have no unfinished business. Do we have any new business? Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Hoover, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned, 6:48.
All right.
Hey, I'm better now. You should have heard me last Sunday. I'm 8 days in. Life is great.
Hang in.
I'm gonna recheck it.